Now, I'm going to talk about some things that you can do after the event. So I'm going to go back to the admin side and we'll click on events up here at the top. And the first thing is honestly this graph. This is a really powerful graph that I also want to encourage you to play with. What's kind of cool about this graph is you can, these check boxes over here selects the event that you want to show in the graph. So I can, for example, show both daycare and Sunday school here at the same time. But when I only select one, this options thing comes up and I have a whole bunch of things I can show. So what's happening here is we actually have some head counts that are kind of taking control of everything that's really happening. So I can scroll all the way to the bottom and then hide all the head counts. And now look at this. Now this is powerful. I can see that the kids worship is the most popular one, for example, and I can see all the details that I need to see on this. You can play with this, but a couple other things to point out. You can see if there's like different of kind, if you care about the difference between regulars, guests, and volunteers, that will show up. Looks like we're only checking in regulars with this test account. So that would look different on your account most likely. And then also there's this favorite. This favorite adds to your specific profile. So for example, if you if you have a whole bunch of events and you specifically only care about one or two of them, you can favorite those and they'll always show up at the top so you don't have to scroll. So yeah, that's kind of rad. I want you to play with that. There's a lot of neat little things that you can do with that. We also have like an average attendance that's based on the time frame that you might have up here too. So yeah, that's the graph. This is honestly where you can get the most power out of the data. And you can even download and export that to a CSV so you can put that in Excel and really make what you'd like there. So I'm going to jump into the event by clicking on the name. And talk about a couple of these tabs here. The first one is the overview page. This is a little bit basic. We've only checked in 7 people today and they're all regulars, but you can see like overview kind of view of that kind of stuff. And then some things that we just think are useful to highlight on the overview page, like the amount of people checked in versus last session, amount of people who've checked out, or sorry, percentage of people who checked out, and then also how many first timers that we have compared to last session. And then another useful tip is this like graph down here. Now, this is not a good visual example because it's a test account, but one of the use cases that I've seen, for example, is let's say I'm trying to figure out how many volunteers that I need to put per location. You could imagine that kids worship might have like, 10 regulars and 1 volunteer, but then like the penguin room might have 2 regulars and 75 volunteers. That's a little ridiculous, but I think you get the point. You're like, oh, I need to add more volunteers to this section and move some out of here. So this is a good section to figure that kind of stuff out. And of course, you can see that per time if you want to as well. Now I'm going to jump to the check-ins things, and there are 2 things that are really useful to point out. First, I'm going to go back a week right here because I've got a good example over there. We have a thing that automatically detects if there's duplicates, and a duplicate might happen when it's the same person coming into the same location. That's like a duplicate check-in basically. So we kind of automatically set that, and that might happen if like the printer kind of went faulty during a print and you had to recheck them in to get a new label or something. You can click on that and it automatically selects the oldest one of those and encourages you to delete the oldest. So the newest one is usually the good one. And you could just hit delete check-ins right there. That's one thing to point out. Second thing to point out on this is this add check-ins thing. That is really built for after an event is over and you missed some people to check in and you want to make sure you have that data. You can choose the location, the time, and then you can just search for people's names right there and it'll check them in. And you can just keep searching for people's names and it will keep adding them for that. So that is add check-ins. Everything else on this page, live updates, which is kind of rad. And you can just do a whole bunch of filters that I just kind of want you to play with as well. So if you just care about volunteers, for example, you can do that. But yeah, encourage you to play with that and just know that it does update live. So if you are an admin looking at this page, you'll know what's happening as it's happening.